Whistleblower testimony has further revealed the tragic and brutal conditions inside of immigration detention centers here in the United States. Dawn Wooten, who is a nurse at a detention center in Irwin County, Georgia, along with several detained individuals, have filed a complaint with the Department of Homeland Security detailing a complete and total lack of appropriate policies and procedures concerning COVID-19, and in news that has caught headlines around the world, involuntary hysterectomies being performed on detainees. Wooten revealed that some of her patients said they were afraid to see one of the doctors there, someone they called the uterus collector. One detainee who was given a hysterectomy stated that she was told it was necessary in order to remove ovarian cysts, but her medical records detail that a biopsy was never in fact done. Another detainee was told that she had stage 4 cancer and thus needed a hysterectomy. After the procedure was finished, however, another oncologist told her she did not even have cancer. These shocking allegations have put a new spotlight on conditions inside of immigration detention centers here in the United States. Breakthrough News was able to talk with Isabel Garcia, an immigration attorney, about some of the broader trends that this story reveals.
It's very clear that it's a bigger issue. I mean, it is appalling. It is shocking. I thought that the tearing away of children was really the worst thing we could do as a country. And then to see that we're going after the women, the mothers, and to treat them with no dignity and decency, well, that is in our history, you know. The problem is that in this country, we don't teach many histories for slavery, post-slavery, indigenous peoples genocide, and land grabs. And one of those topics is immigration. And here at the border, we live that reality, and we have for a very long time. So we're, in a sense, not surprised.
Now, what sort of rights or legal recourse do detainees have in addressing these terrible conditions?
Well, the problem is that many times immigrants don't have access to attorneys. I mean, that's the bottom line. The Supreme Court has decided that because these are civil proceedings in nature, that there is no need to have an attorney appointed. We must change that. In Tucson, we're starting a campaign, Justice for All, so that everybody has an attorney. So there's that issue, right? They don't have attorneys, even for their own deportation proceedings, much less to look at these deplorable conditions. If you don't have an attorney, basically, you don't have rights. I mean, I think that's really silly to say, right? We do have rights, but you don't. If you can't make them effective, what good are they? They sit on paper and you have no rights. And it's very difficult for somebody in custody being demeaned to even attempt to exercise their rights. So this right to counsel is essential. If we're going to be locking people up, which we shouldn't be, why are we locking people up? I mean, that really lies at the very core of our system here, is why are we locking people up? In the time of COVID in particular, there is no regard, as is testified by these women who underwent, I just can't even talk about it. It makes me cry as a woman to know that these women were subjected to this kind of care or abuse.
Wooten also raised serious issues, as I mentioned earlier, surrounding how the detention center has dealt with the issue of the COVID-19 pandemic, including, among other things, not providing PPE and cleaning materials for staff or detainees in the proper amount, lack of quarantine for new arrivals, the hiding of evidence about positive tests among staff and detainees, and allowing potentially positive people awaiting tests to continue to work and circulate and come into contact with many others. And again, there's even more to it than that. One detainee told preparers of the complaint about conditions inside, quote, "We're very afraid of being incarcerated here and dying here. We are daughters, we are mothers, we are wives. We need freedom. Please help us." Wooten has now been downgraded from full-time status as a nurse to as-needed status, which she attributes to being outspoken about COVID-19 related conditions inside of the detention center. And to learn more, we were able to talk with Irvin McCullough from the Government Accountability Project. He's an attorney deeply involved in this case and is here to talk more with us about the complaint and the issues surrounding it.
We work with whistleblowers all across the federal government and help them report wrongdoing without suffering from retaliation or to challenge that retaliation when they're hit back for speaking up. So we took all the information that we had from Ms. Wooten and we put it in an Office of Inspector General complaint. We put it in a neatly packaged complaint for the Department of Homeland Security's Office of Inspector General. That's their internal watchdog. And now we submitted it. We're hoping that we get some type of investigation, a credible, fulsome investigation into the different allegations that Ms. Wooten made.
When did she reach out to you and your organization, and what did she say?
My understanding is she reached out to Project South sometime over the summer, and we were brought in the summer, still in the late summer. She told us that she had seen some stuff that she thought could violate laws, rules, and regulations, that she saw substantial and specific threats to public health and safety. She bluntly said that detainees were suffering. She wanted some type of investigation into all of this wrongdoing that she was seeing. And she wanted to know how we could help her get this to the public, to the inspectors and investigators inside the government and on Capitol Hill, whose job it is to go and make sure that ICE is following the law, that these private companies, these private contractors that run ICE detention facilities, that they're following the law.
Ms. Wooten witnessed or knew about some really horrendous activity at this detention facility. These conditions are certainly against policy. Are these kind of conditions legal, and how can they be so unsafe and so inhumane with zero accountability?
Certainly not. That is definitely a violation of some type of law, rule, or regulation. The CDC and ICE each have their own set of standards for medical care inside these detention facilities. A lot of the conduct that Ms. Wooten has seen and is reporting tends to violate those standards, as weak as they already are. There needs to be an investigation. There needs to be some type of accountability and oversight. Otherwise, wrongdoing will continue unabated. These bad things will continue to happen and nothing will change unless an investigator goes in, gets all the facts, talks to people, reviews documents, comes to conclusions, and really pushes for corrective action to make sure that the right thing is happening here.
Whistleblowers regularly face horrific repression, including being fired, being blacklisted, being prosecuted, facing fines and fees, and even prison time. What kind of retaliation can we expect to be put against Ms. Wooten, and what are the best ways to defend against that?
Well, Ms. Wooten has already suffered some retaliation. She was demoted. That was her reward for speaking up. And one of the investigations we seek from the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General, remember their internal watchdog, is a retaliation investigation. That's why Ms. Wooten has made a protected disclosure to the DHS Inspector General. That means under federal whistleblower laws that apply to contractors, she's doing the right thing. She's bringing this forward to someone who can investigate on behalf of the government. And because of that, she enjoys certain protections from retaliation. So we're hoping that they conduct a retaliation investigation and that they find, as we firmly believe and as we found, that she was retaliated against. And as a result of that, she could receive corrective action. She could get her promotion back. She's entitled to that.
But when we look at the extensive and serious consequences faced by the majority of whistleblowers, we know that they don't work. These people are in essence telling the public about wrongs that the government is perpetrating on their own residents. Is that why the laws made by the government are so weak? And is that why whistleblowers face such intensive retaliation?
That's definitely one of the reasons. If you're at an agency, a government agency, a federal employee, and you make a disclosure about the wrongdoing that you're witnessing, especially in certain places like the intelligence community, you're only allowed to make that disclosure to the agencies. Within the intelligence community, you can't leave and go to Congress, even in lots of cases, unless you go through this really draconian Byzantine process. So that is definitely a reason why a lot of whistleblowers would choose to remain silent. The American public doesn't know what their government is doing in their name. That's exactly why Congress needs to strengthen the laws. So that way, whenever there is wrongdoing, there's significant urgent concerns, those members of Congress can help correct it. They can investigate, they can get the full picture, and then once they correct it, they can help tell the public. There's a way to balance secrecy, privacy, and ensuring that all of these disclosures are heard, investigated, and settled. And right now, the law just doesn't reflect that. We're hoping that it changes very soon.
ICE is denying that they have violated anyone's rights or any government policies. They do also say, however, that they are taking any investigation by the DHS Inspector General seriously. So in other words, their line is, nothing's happening here, but if it turns out something is happening, it's just some rogue individuals, not the institution itself. But given the long history in the United States of forced sterilizations on mainly poor women, particularly poor women of color, and the predominance of serious anti-immigrant sentiment throughout the Trump administration, and of course the documented history of all sorts of abuses in immigration detention facilities, it seems that a healthy skepticism of any claims coming from ICE on this or anything else is absolutely warranted.